Hello guys! Welcome everyone, and for those who've been around for a while, back to yet again another episode of Mando Monday. This is the series where you guys ask the questions and I, of course, answer them. Just this week, as long as it's not about the chair, we're all cool. We have one from the living room and our office chair is broken. Your questions could be anything to do with Counter-Strike 2, Valve, future upcoming updates such as CS2's first operation or possible anti-cheat, which we now know to be VAC 3, or maybe something to do with the background or possibly myself. If you have a question that you want a shot at being answered in next week's video, leave it down below this comment section or any other one of my videos saying Ask Mando, then ask your question. Usually easiest and best for me to find it that way. And as well, to answer the elephant in the room, yes, last week's Mando Monday never went up and yesterday's didn't either. I've had a lot going on in my personal life, and yesterday we ended up recording halfway through Mando Monday until I lost my voice, so here we are today, Tuesday, which is hopefully the day it goes up. But today's video, we're going to touch on CS2's next and new content, such as Danger Zone 2, the comeback of fan favorite maps such as Cobblestone, Season, Cache. We're also going to discuss a possible CS2 protest alongside a bunch more. Now today's video sponsor is Skins Monkey. Skins Monkey is a CS2 trading site for all your skin needs. Whether you're choosing to deposit your in-game items or real-life cash, Skins Monkey has it all. If you choose to trade yet need to top up your balance, you can do so by also using my code MANDO for a free $5. Alongside depositing, you get an additional 35% of a deposit bonus. With Skins Monkey's large variety of skins, they also offer daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. If interested, the link will be in the top of the description down below. Now hopping straight into the meat and potatoes for today's video, that being the questions, here we are with question 1, that being from ProDuels. This was a response from a community post that I put out around a week ago, from me asking what you'd like to see inside Counter-Strike 2 sometime in the future. Now he said Printstream update and Cobblestone/Season comeback. Now speaking of Season, I'm assuming you're talking about the map and not the time of year. As it goes for Season coming back to Counter-Strike, I don't really think that's going to be possible anytime in the near future. Now, I know that's not the answer anyone really wants to hear, but here's my reasoning for it. Season left Counter-Strike in around 2015, though it was on Faceit for a pretty long time. This alongside Zoo was probably my favorite operation map of all time, and we've yet to see really any operation maps aside from a couple to come back to the franchise. Out of the 10 years that Counter-Strike had after these maps actually came out, they never really came back. I believe Zoo did. But if they were to come back to the game, I'd assume they'd come back in CSGO, when that had a decade after, well, it first released. Right now inside CS2, we have a lot more things to worry about than some maps from an operation coming back, where right now we need all the content that CSGO had right before it just, well, got shut off. Now, as it stands for Cobblestone, this is also an answer not a lot of people are going to want to hear. What we do know right now is Cobblestone, a little before CS2 released, was rumored to have a wintered version, as we could see in the game files and as it was inside Counter-Strike 2 and still is right now. In some recent updates within the last couple of weeks in August, we can see that some textures from Cobblestone have been used and are right now inside Counter-Strike 2 for the Source 2 engine, but it has now been stated that those same textures are also used in Italy, so it's most likely just for Italy and not Cobblestone. I just simply believe that Valve is going to be working on different things and shifting their focus, rather than from operation maps and maps that weren't too popular. Train is a really good example here as well. Valve is said to have been working on Train, but we really don't know. I've also bought Anubis and Tuscan right before CSGO got deleted moving into CS2, but obviously Tuscan is nowhere to be seen, and for all we know, these 3 maps alongside the long list of others could be just lost on some sort of server waiting to get uploaded to the Source 2 engine or to be made public for some sort of future update. Now, as it stands for the Printstream collection inside Counter-Strike 2 right now, for those who don't know, the Printstream creator has essentially recreated all the Printstream skins for the Source 2 engine for Counter-Strike 2 and has also driven way more hype than anything Valve has put out over this last year just for a simple small collection of skins. He's made some new Printstream skins just for Source 2 and just for CS2, and right now, just like a lot of skins inside CS2 that came from CSGO, they look butchered and jacked versus their first version. Even the Printstream collection you'd think would look better in CS2, well, it's actually gotten a pretty big downgrade, and it's almost like you've bought a faulty product if you buy it inside CS2 versus what it once was. As it stands for Valve updating it, I'm not really sure. It would make sense for them to, but once again, Valve is Valve and they do Valve things. This is one of those updates where it's just common sense that you'd think they'd update it because the work has already been done for them and it's more so just a fix. You're not re-releasing a skin. But in reality, Valve has a tendency not to update the game for simple things like this, where the work has already been laid out for them. They don't have to pay anybody. They just slap their logo on it and put it out. But thank you for the question, or more so questions, brother. On to question 2. Zuck asks, what's new on VACnet 3? I played this morning and I still met a Waller running around with an auto sniper jumping around. Nothing changed. So long story short, not a whole lot changed. If anything, some things got worse, some things got better, but it's to the point you're not really going to notice, at least for the average Joe. And I myself is in that category as well. What I mean by that is if you look at the blog post for when VACnet 3 first got announced, Valve still says it's in initial testing, and for how long it's going to be in initial testing, I'm not really sure. Really, over the last year now, for every single update, you can go through data mines and go in the game files and see that Valve has been working on, well, VACnet 3 and the next anti-cheat for Counter-Strike 2. It seems like a lot of it's going to be done by AI and using a lot of information that Valve has collected from CS players over the last couple of years, and not to mention we have all the data from CSGO. For all we know, in my opinion, it could take anywhere from 4 weeks to possibly 2 to 3 years for VACnet 3 to fully roll out and actually be working at its full potential. Just like Counter-Strike 2, Valve usually has a lot of problems with the simplest things when just adding a map to Counter-Strike 2, so something as big and as as large as VACnet 3, Valve is going to have some time to work out the kinks and work out all the bugs that comes with. I think something we have to remember as Counter-Strike players is because of how competitive the game is, there's always going to be cheaters one way or another. If someone's wearing Google glasses to have walls in their glasses, have cheats built right into their mouse or keyboard, maybe their monitor, someone's always going to try and get the tactical advantage, whether you have 50 different kernel level anti-cheats or not. Now, our next question up here is very straightforward, and it's from Sky, and he says, Danger Zone, where are you? So Danger Zone, like the long list of maps and modes from CSGO that was long forgotten, never made its way to CS2, and hasn't been seen in the game, at least inside Counter-Strike 2, until recently. In almost every single update, very similar to VACnet 3 for the last 5 to 6 months, there has been strings and lines of text of Danger Zone 2 getting mentioned, or just Danger Zone in general. For when Danger Zone is going to release, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's going to be soon, and I have my reasons. The biggest one for myself for the last few months is I started to think before we get an operation, we have to look back to what operations were and what you played specifically in those missions to get your stars for the battle pass in order to earn money. For the most part, over the last few operations, Valve had you playing Danger Zone a majority of the time, at least once or twice a week. And with how big Danger Zone is a part of the operation, but also just as a mode in general, where it could almost be a side game, Valve can barely release a sticker capsule or some sort of minor update without any major problems. So what do you think is going to happen when Valve releases Danger Zone 2 or an operation and it has a boatload of issues? It would get to the point, in my opinion, where it would take away the fun from both the operation, but also Danger Zone. So really the fact of the matter is I do believe we're going to get Danger Zone long before an operation, but I do think it's going to be either before the end of this year or early next. Now our next question up here is from Barry Pancake, and they ask, where's the map cache? So similar to a lot of the maps and modes we talked about in today's video, but just on the channel in general, have been long lost and forgotten inside Counter-Strike Global Offensive and never have seen the light of day inside Counter-Strike 2. Cache, I'd like to say, is a little bit different. Now cache inside CSGO was removed from the map pool long before CSGO was, well, deleted, and the newer version of cache that we got in, I believe, 2018 was just not it. For most people, they didn't really vibe with it, it didn't really play well. The aesthetic, in my opinion, was horrible, and for me was the main reason I stopped playing it, as well as I hated that little window in mid. There is some good news for it coming to Counter-Strike 2. The Twitter user and map creator for CS2, known as FM Pone, over the last 6 months have put out dozens of pictures of his recreation of cache for the Source 2 engine inside CS2. Now for when this is going to be released, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming it's going to be before the end of 2025 or early 2025, and then that's going to have to be in the workshop for a little while. People are going to have to play test it, send in bugs for it to get fixed, optimize it, and in the case if Valve does buy it in order to put it inside the game, they're going to have to buy it, wait a little bit, fix out all the bugs, work out some kinks, then it's going to be added to the game, and then before we know it, it could be another couple years before it's added to the map pool. I think it's safe to say right now, for whatever Valve is working on at the moment that they have on their back burner, and that's already here, that's all that's going to be, one, in the competitive map pool, but also in the game for quite some time. But yes, to answer your question, cache is most likely on its way. It's just going to take some time, which kind of sucks. Heading into the last couple of questions for today's video, this is where things become a little spicy. First one up here is from Hugo Home, and he says, when do you think we'll get some new content? So just a very bland baseline answer to you, I don't really know, nor does really anyone else in the Counter-Strike space. Now, I think something that's really difficult as a Counter-Strike player, but also data miner and just someone who enjoys the game, is Valve doesn't have a roadmap. They don't tell us what's going on. We don't know what's going to release. For all we know, the next couple of years, there'll be nothing, but obviously that won't be the case. And practically every single update over the last 5 to 6 months has had some sort of strings to do with the new map, a returning map or mode from CSGO, if that's Danger Zone, Cobblestone, Train, and just as of recently, we've obviously seen a lot to do with keychains, but they're nowhere in sight inside CS2. Now, to give you a valid answer, I'm going to go back to Valve's interview with PC Gamer a little over a year ago, right before CS2 released. They stated that year one for CS2 was just going to be primarily working on all the kinks, fixing all the bugs, and getting rid of the problems. And now here we are almost a year in, and a lot of those issues are still not fixed, they're gone, and content for most people is nowhere in sight. I think before the end of 2024, we're going to see some sort of minor to major content update, if that's an operation, half of an operation. And I think for the people who want an operation, have to consider in the future that Valve might not ever use the term operation again. It might just be something brand new, as well as it might be another year before we get something as large as an operation, where in reality we might just have another MVP update with a couple of cases, some new cosmetics. It's something not on that scale. Thank you for your question, brother. It's just very hard to tell at the end of the day when Valve is going to release anything, and if they are anytime soon, especially when we get constantly baited almost every single update thinking there's going to be something soon, when in reality it's just strings of text for another couple of years out. At least that's what we think. And then later today, watch there be an update. And to end things off for today's video, we have a couple of bonus questions, more so to do with myself and Star Wars. So the first one up is from Iceberg Clips, and he says, do you have a Star Wars like channel on the side? Now the long story short to this is yes, I actually have a Lego Star Wars channel named Luke Builds, but there hasn't been a video on there for the last 2 to 3 years, and they're all private at the moment. Now for why that is, I just didn't really want to upload Lego content anymore. I really enjoyed it for the time that I did, and near the end I'd say it was probably the most success I had on the channel, but at the time for myself it was a battle between if I'm wanting to do Counter-Strike content or Lego Star Wars, and I just picked Counter-Strike. It was around that exact same time all the Source 2 rumors started coming out, and I was enjoying Counter-Strike Global Offensive at the time a whole bunch, didn't want to leave that in the ruin, and this is where things for CS really started to take off. It was something I'd like to revisit sometime in the future, especially for Luke Builds just being Star Wars, and that could be as soon as the next couple of months, but for right now I'm just doing Counter-Strike, and that's where my pride and joy lies. So that pretty much wraps up this week's episode of Mando Monday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and got your questions answered that you wanted down below. And for those of you who have questions for next week's video that you want a shot at being answered, leave it down below this comment section or any other one of my videos. There was a couple of questions for today's video that I just simply couldn't get in because I am starting to lose my voice once again for today's episode. It was right around the halfway point of recording, so sorry if it sounds different as well, but I still wanted to deliver and give it out to you guys since we missed last week and yesterday. But that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.